Act as if you are the best. No one is better than you. Stoicism. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Welcome to Stoic Science, where ancient philosophy meets modern power. If you've ever felt like you're waiting for the perfect moment to begin to strive, to lead, to become, today's message is for you. The Stoics didn't wait. They acted. And one of the most radical acts you can take is to carry yourself as if you are already the best. Not from arrogance, but from alignment with your highest potential. In this video, we're diving deep into a Stoic mindset that will reshape the way you face challenges, setbacks, and self-doubt. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting and simply decided to be great today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how Stoicism has shaped your journey. And if this resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs it. Let's begin. 1. You don't need to wait to feel ready. Decide to show up now. Most men spend their entire lives waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, or the perfect version of themselves to finally appear. But what if I told you that the Stoics never placed their trust in waiting? As Epictetus once said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That's the essence of Stoicism, a call to action, not a call to delay. The idea that you must feel ready before you act is an illusion that keeps countless men stuck in mediocrity. The truth is, you don't need to wait until you feel confident. You don't need the world's permission. You need one thing: the decision to show up as if you're already the best. Because greatness doesn't announce itself with a trumpet. It begins quietly, internally, with the Stoic resolve to carry yourself like someone who belongs at the top, long before anyone else sees it. Acting as if you are the best isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. It's about choosing behaviors that reflect your highest standard, even when no one is watching. The Stoic man understands that excellence is not a feeling, it is a commitment. A man who adopts this mindset doesn't wait for motivation to strike. He shows up with discipline. He understands that his outer reality will rise to meet the inner posture he holds. In a modern world obsessed with comparison and external success, the Stoic path dares you to look within. It says, you don't need to prove anything to anyone, but you do owe everything to the man you could become. Every morning, you're faced with the choice. Will you operate from your excuses or from your potential? The difference between the two is not talent, not luck, not timing, it's ownership. And in today's world, where men are overwhelmed by responsibilities, expectations, and distractions, adopting this Stoic mindset is not only powerful, it's necessary. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, running a business, raising a family, or battling your own demons, you are being watched, not just by others, but by your own soul. So how do you act as if you are the best? You begin by holding yourself to a higher standard, not for recognition, but because it becomes your code. You do your work like it matters, even if no one claps. You speak with integrity, not to impress, but to stay aligned. You train your mind to endure discomfort without complaint. And when failure comes, because it will, you respond with reflection, not self-pity. Because the Stoic knows that pain is a teacher, not a curse. By carrying yourself like the best, you don't pretend to be perfect. You declare, that you're committed to becoming better. The world may not notice right away, but the transformation begins within. And that internal shift, it's unstoppable. It bleeds into how you lead, how you love, how you live. You become magnetic not because you're shouting for attention, but because you radiate self-respect. And eventually, others start to feel it too. Not everyone will understand you. Some will fear your presence, not because you did anything wrong, but because you remind them of what they're not doing. That's the price of becoming uncommon in a world addicted to comfort. So next time you hesitate, remember this: no one is here to validate your potential. That's your job. Act like you're the best, not to convince others, but to remind yourself you're already good enough. Now is the time to act like it. That's not just confidence. That's Stoicism in action. And it changes everything. Comment below: I practice Stoicism. 2. Acting like the best means embodying discipline, virtue, and inner confidence, not arrogance. Acting like the best is not about declaring yourself better than others, and it certainly isn't about arrogance or superiority. Instead, it's about holding yourself to an unshakable inner standard, one that reflects discipline, virtue, and the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need applause to be real. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy, carrying yourself with calm authority, striving for excellence, and mastering yourself regardless of how the world may treat you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, lived this truth not through grand gestures, but by showing up each day to meet his responsibilities with clarity, courage, and composure. He didn't speak of being the best. He acted in a way that made it undeniable. That's what it truly means to act as if you are the best. Not because you crave recognition, but because you've chosen to live in alignment with your highest potential. Think about the people you admire not for their fame, but for their character. Maybe it's that colleague who never cuts corners, the parent who shows up every day with love and patience, or the leader who makes hard decisions without needing praise. What they all have in common is a way of being, a presence that commands respect without ever demanding it. That's the energy of someone who lives according to Stoic philosophy, someone who chooses character over comfort, growth over ego, and purpose over validation. In modern life, where social media screams for attention and ego often parades as confidence, there's something deeply grounding about carrying yourself with silent strength. You don't need to broadcast your worth. Your presence speaks for you. I once knew a man who worked as a janitor at a school. He showed up every morning before sunrise, polished every floor with care, and learned the names of every student who passed by. No one asked him to take that much pride in his work, but he did it because he believed in doing everything with excellence. Over time, students began to seek him out for advice. Teachers respected his consistency, and when he retired, the entire school honored him as if he had been the principal. He never said, "I'm the best," but through how he carried himself through his actions, discipline, and quiet leadership, everyone saw it. That's what acting as the best really looks like. It's not a performance, it's a practice, a way of being. So I want to ask you, what would change if, starting today, you walk through life as if you were aligned with your highest self? How would you speak? How would you show up? How would you treat your time, your work, and your relationships. The Stoics believed that we become what we repeatedly do. Excellence, they said, is not an act, but a habit. When you act as your best self consistently, you don't just attract more respect or opportunities. You begin to believe it. And that belief, when rooted in discipline and humility, becomes a force that nothing outside of yourself can shake. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Don't wait for someone else to crown you. Crown yourself through the way you live, every day. Comment below, I crown myself. Let your actions reflect the standards you hold within. That is the essence of Stoicism. Choosing to embody the values you hold dear, no matter the circumstances, and letting your quiet strength speak louder than words. 3. Your mindset shapes your reality. Belief precedes becoming. Your mindset shapes your reality, and belief always precedes becoming. And here's the truth most people overlook. The way you carry yourself is not a reaction to who you are. It is a blueprint for who you will become. When you act as if you are the best, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose, you begin to train your body, your mind, and your energy to rise to that identity. This is not about delusion or putting on a false image. It's about embodying potential before it fully manifests. The Stoic mindset teaches us that we are not victims of fate or feelings. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So when life places you in moments of uncertainty, insecurity, or doubt, the question is not whether you are already the best, but whether you are willing to carry yourself like the best and grow into it. Because every time you choose to act with calm, clarity, and confidence, even when no one is watching, you send a signal to your nervous system and to the universe, I am becoming. And that intention, when repeated daily, rewires your brain, strengthens your habits, and gradually transforms your identity. Think about how athletes train long before the spotlight finds them. They show up every morning, with or without applause, behaving as if they are already champions. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. And the same goes for you. Whether you are working a job that feels small, trying to rebuild after failure, or stepping into a new version of yourself, the decision to embody excellence before the world validates it is what separates the average from the extraordinary. The Daily Stoic reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So imagine what might shift in your life if you chose, starting today, to act with the discipline, patience, and confidence of someone who knows their worth, not because the world has told them, but because they decided to walk in that truth. How would you speak? What kind of posture would you have? What would you no longer tolerate? What habits would you drop? And which ones would you finally commit to? These are not questions of ego. They are invitations to clarity. They are reminders that how you live today shapes who you become tomorrow. Remember, becoming the best is not a single moment of arrival. It is 1,000 quiet decisions made in private. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. So if you're waiting for someone to crown you, stop. No one is coming to give you permission to rise. That's your job. That's your path. And that's your power. Are you ready to carry yourself like the person you are meant to become, even before the evidence shows up? Because that is the essence of a Stoic mindset. Choosing to become, through your actions, what you already believe in your soul to be true. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Your journey to Stoic self-mastery and victory continues with each lesson. 4. Excellence is a habit, not a performance. Excellence is not a fleeting moment of glory. It is a way of life. It's not something you turn on when the spotlight is on you. It's something you practice when no one is watching. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this well. Seneca, one of the most revered minds in Stoicism, once said, "We become what we repeatedly do." That's not just poetic. It's a blueprint for transformation. Excellence, then, isn't a single achievement, but the cumulative result of thousands of quiet decisions made over time. It's like building muscle. No man walks into a gym once and expects to be strong. Instead, strength is built in the repetition in showing up, in pushing through resistance, and in choosing consistency over comfort. The same applies to the mind, the spirit, and the identity you carry into the world. Every time you choose discipline over distraction or humility over ego, you're shaping the man you are becoming. That is the Stoic approach, not to chase validation, but to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. When you act as if you are the best, it's not about arrogance or delusion. It's about alignment. It's about carrying yourself with the dignity, focus, and intentionality of someone who respects their own potential. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You are practicing being the man you are capable of becoming. And eventually, that practice becomes your nature. Think of a warrior preparing for battle. He doesn't wait until he's in danger to start training. He sharpens his sword daily, not because he expects war, but because readiness is his responsibility. You too have a battlefield. It might be the boardroom. It might be your role as a father, husband, leader, or builder. The arena will differ, but the Stoic mindset remains the same. Show up. Be prepared. Refine your habits until they reflect your inner code. In today's modern world, where distractions are constant and mediocrity is often normalized, adopting a Stoic path is an act of rebellion. Acting like the best doesn't mean comparing yourself to others. It means holding yourself to a higher standard, one that is forged through self-discipline, integrity, and consistency. The real competition is not with the man next to you. It's with the weaker version of yourself that wants to take shortcuts, procrastinate, or shrink in the face of discomfort. By walking the path of excellence daily, you begin to silence that inner voice of doubt, not through noise, but through proof. And proof is built on repetition. So the question becomes, what do you repeatedly do? Do your daily actions reflect your values? Do your words carry the weight of your principles? Do you move through life with the presence and composure of a man who respects himself? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the invitation, to live in such a way that your life speaks for you, that your presence is grounded, that your choices are intentional, and that your excellence is not a mask, but a reflection of your spiritual commitment to mastery. In a world hungry for shortcuts and applause, let your silent, steady pursuit of greatness be the loudest thing about you. Let that be your practice. Let that be your legacy. Let that be the version of you that acts like you are the best. Because in truth, the man who commits to being the best version of himself every day is already there. That is Stoicism in action. That is the mindset that will not only change your life, but the lives of everyone who sees you lead. Comment below. I will apply Stoicism in my life. 5. Facing your weaknesses is part of the journey. Facing your weaknesses is not a sign of failure. It's the very path to mastery. In Stoic philosophy, we are not defined by how we appear when things are easy, but by how we respond when we're stripped down to our vulnerabilities. Acting as if you're the best doesn't mean faking confidence or pretending you have it all together. It means stepping into each day with a quiet, unshakable intention to grow, especially in the places you're still weak. The Stoics didn't preach arrogance. They preached self-mastery through discipline, courage, and humility. To act as if you're the best is to carry yourself with a mindset that says, I know I have work to do, but I refuse to be defeated by my flaws. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote daily reminders to himself not to let pride, anger, or fear rule him. Why? Because he understood that confronting your imperfections is where real power begins. That is the foundation of Stoic philosophy. Virtue over vanity, depth over display. I want you to think about someone you deeply admire, not for their talents, but for their presence. That person likely isn't perfect, but what makes them magnetic is their inner strength, their steadiness, their refusal to run from truth. Now ask yourself, what if you became that kind of presence for others? What if instead of hiding your insecurities, you turned them into invitations to grow stronger, wiser, more resilient? Let me tell you a story. A man I once met was terrified of public speaking. Every time he stood before a crowd, his voice would crack, his hands would sweat, and his thoughts would scatter. But instead of avoiding the stage, he committed to showing up over and over again, not pretending to be the best, but acting like someone who believed he could become the best. He studied the craft, learned to control his breath, and slowly, painfully, he transformed. Years later, he's now one of the most respected voices in his field. That transformation didn't come from denial. It came from acceptance. From the Stoic belief that your flaws aren't obstacles, they're instructions. They point to the very places that demand your attention, your patience, your effort. And when you face them, with grit and grace, you begin to earn the quiet confidence of someone who has met their inner darkness and didn't flinch. That's what acting as if you're the best really means. It's not performance, it's posture. The way you carry yourself, even when no one's watching. The decision to respond with excellence, not for praise, but for principle. So I'll ask you this. What's the weakness you've been avoiding? And what would happen if you walked toward it instead of running away? What kind of man or woman could you become if you faced it with the heart of a Stoic? Life will not reward your perfection, but it will reward your consistency, your honesty, and your willingness to align your actions with your highest values. In the end, the lesson is simple and profound. Acting as if you are the best is not about ego. It's about integrity. It's about showing up each day ready to fight for your best self. Not because the world expects it, but because your soul demands it. The Stoic path is not for the faint of heart, but for those who understand that every flaw you face is a doorway to power, and every act of discipline is a quiet victory over chaos. Walk that path not perfectly, but with purpose, and watch what happens. What part of this message resonates with you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this has shaped your journey. 6. Your mindset affects others. Excellence is contagious. When you walk into a room with clarity, confidence, and quiet discipline, something shifts not just within you, but in the energy of everyone around you. That's the power of a Stoic mindset. It's not about showing off or pretending to be more than you are. It's about embodying excellence so fully and consistently that others feel compelled to rise with you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And when you carry yourself with inner order, people sense your presence before you even speak. The truth is, excellence is contagious. Your habits, your composure, your way of responding rather than reacting, they all influence the people near you in ways you may never see. We often underestimate how much our energy teaches others what's possible. The daily Stoic approach to life doesn't shout. It whispers. It leads not by command, but by example. You don't need a title or recognition to be a leader. You simply need to commit to mastering yourself, moment by moment. The Stoic principle of sympathia, the idea that we are all part of a greater whole, reminds us that your actions don't just affect you. When you decide to carry yourself with quiet strength, it echoes outward. The way you take care of your responsibilities, speak with integrity, and remain calm in the face of chaos becomes a silent challenge to those watching. You can do better too. And here's what makes it powerful. It's not forced. When you live from a Stoic mindset, you are not performing for others. You are aligning with your own standard of excellence. It's not perfection you're after, but presence. It's not a comparison, but consistency. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This isn't about being superior to others. It's about being superior to your past self every single day. And that effort, that quiet dedication, it inspires. People feel it even if they never tell you. They start to speak more carefully around you. They sit up straighter. They think twice before making excuses. Because your example forces them to look at their own standards. Your pursuit of virtue makes them question their own compromises. Isn't it incredible how one person's inner order can nudge others toward their higher self? But this doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you wake up every morning and choose the path of Stoicism every day. It happens when you ask yourself, who do I want to be today? Not, what do I want to achieve? Or, how do I want to appear? But who do you choose to be in your character, in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions? Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs examples. It needs people whose presence brings peace, whose steadfastness inspires confidence, whose calm in the storm reminds others of their own power. So I ask you, what would happen if you treated your life as a message to the world? What would change if you stopped asking for permission and simply became the kind of person who leads by your presence? Your thinking, your inner harmony, your silent discipline may seem private, but they are never private. There is always someone watching. And when you carry unwavering clarity within you, you invite others to do the same. That is not ego. That is leadership. That is what it means to live a Stoic life. Comment below. I am grateful for Stoic values. 7. Failure is not the end. It's part of becoming. You've probably been told that failure is the opposite of success, that when things fall apart, it means you're not good enough, not strong enough, or simply not meant for greatness. But what if that story is wrong? What if failure is not the end, but the beginning of something deeper, the refining fire that forges the man you are destined to become? That's the message at the heart of Stoicism, a philosophy built not on empty bravado, but on disciplined self-mastery and inner strength. The great Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, didn't avoid hardship. They embraced it. They saw setbacks not as signs of weakness, but as invitations to grow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the obstacle is the path. When life punches you in the gut, you don't fold, you rise. You recalibrate. You act not as a victim, but as a student of the moment. This is what separates a man who merely survives from one who builds himself into something unshakable. This is the Stoic mindset, to treat every failure as fuel, every misstep as feedback, every storm as a chance to anchor deeper into who you are. Think about your own life. How many times have you let failure define you? A missed promotion, a broken relationship, a business idea that never took off. These are not dead ends. They are sharpening stones tools that reveal where you still have work to do, where your focus needs to deepen, and where your ego must surrender to the truth. Epictetus, who lived most of his life as a slave, became one of the most respected Stoic teachers because he learned that real freedom comes not from changing your circumstances, but from mastering your response to them. It's easy to look confident when everything is going your way. But true Stoicism is proven in the moments that test your resolve, when the world says you're finished, and you quietly decide that this is where the next chapter begins. Acting as if you are the best doesn't mean pretending to be perfect. It means carrying yourself with the quiet, steady confidence of a man who knows he can learn from anything. It means standing tall after a fall, not because others are watching, but because you've made a promise to yourself to never quit. Modern life will test you. Deadlines, competition, financial pressure, family expectations, they will all push against your sense of self. But here's the truth. No one can steal your dignity unless you hand it to them. The Stoic understands this. He doesn't need applause or validation to keep going. His strength is internal. His standard is excellence, not approval. And every failure he meets is another chance to practice this, to prove to himself that he is not governed by outcomes, but by principles. So ask yourself, what would change in your life if you stopped running from failure and started respecting it? What if you treated every setback as a sacred lesson in your own evolution? The world doesn't need more men chasing perfection. It needs more men who can lead themselves through chaos with honor, courage, and clarity. That is the true mark of a Stoic. You are not your failure. You are who you become because of how you respond to it. Let that truth sink in and let it shape how you show up tomorrow. Because in this life, acting as if you are the best is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is choosing to rise above circumstance and embody the values that define greatness. And in the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So choose strength. Choose growth. Choose to see failure not as the end, but as the making of the man you were always meant to be. That is Stoicism in motion. That is the Stoic way. So as we close, remember this. Acting as if you're the best isn't about ego. It's about stepping into your highest potential with intention, consistency, and purpose. The Stoics remind us that greatness is not a matter of chance, but of choice. When you carry yourself like the best version of you in your work, your relationships, and your mindset, you naturally begin to embody those qualities. Over time, this way of thinking transforms into a way of being. So ask yourself each morning, how would the best version of me live today? If this video from Stoic Science resonated with you, leave a comment below and let us know how you're applying these Stoic principles in your life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new insight. See you in the next one.